Tonight we are talking about unlocking personal purpose and connection through impactful narratives. So one of the things I often see and we've talked about before is going beyond just saying, buy my book, or just posting the flyer, or just posting the book cover, or just posting the product, right? If you don't have a book that you're promoting, maybe you're promoting a service, maybe you're promoting another business, but we have to get beyond just posting the flyer, posting the cover, and posting buy my book. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. For those of you, hopefully my navigation works right tonight. All right, so those of you that don't know me, I am Juanita Woodson. I am the owner, founder of Grace for Purpose Publishing Co., visionary of Moments for Moms, the Legacy Unlocked. So real quick, I'll go through this. So I started my journey back in 2017 when I released my first book, Don't Go That Way, Protect Your Purpose. And what started as me just simply sharing my story of how I had grown through some things has turned into something much bigger than I could have imagined, right? So it started with me sharing my story. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to connect those dots. So I have written and been a part of a number of different books here. So my most recent release is Own Your Impact, and that is pretty much tying into a lot of the work that I am doing now. All right. So we're just going to jump right into some things. So your story is not just your past. It is a bridge that can guide someone else to their purpose. So if you don't remember anything else, I want you to remember that your purpose is not just for you. It is definitely the key to unlock someone else's legacy, someone else's purpose, to give them that hope, that motivation to show up and do what it is that God called them to do. And I think I'm moving faster than this. So my why, so writing opened the door for me to discover my own voice. I love to write, I love to read, but more importantly, I love to serve and be of help to really be that purpose pusher for other people, right? To be able to help them to be who God created them to be. So I'm really passionate about creating spaces like Own Your Impact, like Moments for Moms, where other people can show up and share their stories and use the tools and the gifts that are inside of them to step boldly into who God created them to be. So I help mothers and authors embrace their journey, own their impact, and use their voice with confidence. Because when you show up fully, you not only transform your own life, but you inspire others to do the same. All right, so the purpose of the webinar. So this is part two. So if you joined last month, we talked a little bit about impact. We learned what impact meant. And tonight we're going to learn a little bit more about storytelling. It's something that you have to narrow down. You need to get that down. And it's ironic, Paula, your book released. You are the story hustler, right? So I think that this definitely aligns with what you are doing, the amazing work that you're doing with your brand. So the purpose of the webinar is to help you recognize the power of your story and how it can inspire others, to show you how to connect your personal journey to your God-given purpose, to equip you with the tools to share your story with confidence and authenticity, and to empower you to teach, influence, and create impact through your experiences. So why this webinar exists, right? So every person has a story, moments of triumph, struggle, or growth, right? And yet many of us hesitate to share it. We're unsure if it matters or if it can truly make a difference. We may ask ourselves a question, does my voice really matter? Can people really see me? Do they really care? So this webinar exists to help you see that your journey is a powerful tool to inspire, guide, and empower others. All right. So the power of your story. So unlocking personal purpose and connection through impactful narratives. So I don't know if you are a part of the Own Your Impact with Juanita group on Facebook, right? I shared a post today. I shared a picture of my son when he was in the car. He was younger. He was in the driver's seat. And I actually, when I saw that picture just scrolling through today, it makes me think of how I see him when he's driving now, right? So I shared that story and I used that story to connect the dots of my fear of letting him drive, and how he didn't let my fear stop him. And sometimes as authors, right, we sometimes let our own inner voice, we let the fears, we let maybe other people's failures to stop us from showing up who we are supposed to be. So I want you to go and I want you to check out that post that I shared because it is the perfect example of using emotions, using real story to connect the dots and tell a story of what you need people to hear. And of course, I did the call to action to join the webinar tonight. But I want you to take a look at that because I think it gives you a really good example when you're sharing on social media. You want to take it a step further, right? We want to take it a step further than just saying, buy my book, sharing the flyer, sharing the book cover. I'm going to repeat that a few different times tonight because I really want us to step beyond that because there's something so much bigger and deeper inside of us. And the more that you share your story, the less that you'll have to say, buy my book, because your story is going to start to sell those books for you, right? So stories resonate deeply with us. So serving as a powerful tool for connection and understanding, they have the ability to inspire, guide, and empower both the storyteller and the audience. So by sharing our experiences, we not only reveal our personal purpose, but also create a sense of community, allowing others to reflect on their own journeys. So if you've been keeping up with me on social media, I've been talking a lot about my son driving, his journey to learning how to drive, what this season of life is like for me. And we'll be releasing our book soon, Moments for Moms, Volume 4, Inspiration and Wisdom for Every Season of Motherhood. So I'm dropping those little tidbits here and there on social media. People may not know it yet because they haven't read my chapter in the book, but a lot of what I'm leading up to on social media, it aligns with my chapter in that book, right? So discovering your unique purpose in life, right? So define your personal purpose. So you have to understand your core values and beliefs that drive your actions. It is essential for personal fulfillment. Your purpose will align with your story. So you want to connect your experiences and lessons learned that can help create a more authentic narrative for your audience. So you don't have to make up any stories, right? These are your lived experiences, but it's all in how you format it. So we're going to go through some of that tonight. And then engage with reflection. So reflect on significant life lessons that allows you to extract insights that can inspire and teach others. And of course, if you have, you know what, I should have logged in through my iPad so I can see if you have questions. You can drop your questions in the chat. Feedback you can drop in the chat as well. We will have some time for Q&A towards the end. So these are some examples of stories that teach purpose. So I wanted to give a few different examples because I know I often work with different genres of authors. So children's book authors, fiction authors, nonfiction authors. So for a children's book author, so a mother who used her experiences raising children to write a picture book, teaching empathy and kindness to young readers. So what would the impact be there? Help children understand emotions, problem solving, and life lessons in a relatable way. For a fiction author, that may look like an author who turned personal challenges or observations of life into a fictional novel that explores themes of resilience, courage, and identity. So, what does that impact look like? She or he inspires readers to reflect on their own lives, faces challenges, and grow through storytelling. One thing I love about fiction is how creative you can be, right? Using different characters. So you can, even if you're writing, if you've written a fiction book, you can still teach purpose through a fiction book, right? There's different ways that you can connect that. And then when you're promoting on social media, you can still use your own personal stories to tie it all together in your marketing on social media as well. And then just a general example, so a speaker or storyteller whose journey resonates with audiences, encouraging them to step into their own purpose. All right, and then just a few more examples because I am a very visual person. So for me, seeing it written out will help me to really get it down exactly what that is supposed to look like. So a mentor, so maybe you may be a mentor. So mentor through personal experiences. So a mother who overcame loss to mentor young women on resilience. The purpose in that, it shows how personal challenges can guide and inspire others. An author sharing lessons through writing. So, for example, an author who turned struggles into a book guiding others. So, you would use storytelling to teach a valuable life lesson. All right. Your story is a gift, and when you share it, you give others permission to see, believe, and rise. So, once again, your story, your purpose is not just for you, it is definitely a key that will unlock doors for other people. So, just a quick clarity check in, engagement check in. And you can write this, you can come off of mute and share, or you can drop it in the chat. But I want you to think about your own journey and what is one challenge that you've overcome that could inspire someone else. And I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that.
So for me, it would be using my voice. Um, for a long time, I have always been very like shy in the background, just not say much. So now I'm actually using my voice and in turn trying to help other kids use their voice so they don't not use their voice growing up.
Yes, okay. I love that. All right, so you've identified a challenge that you faced, and now you are using that challenge to help other people. All right, so elements of an impactful story. So these are four key components that will help you connect, inspire, and engage with your audience. So authenticity, right? So important. Like I said, you don't have to make up any stories. I promise you, if you go tonight, you can probably write down 10 to 15 different stories off the top of your head that you can use to connect with something that you're promoting on social media. Um, to help you with the storytelling aspect in marketing. So authenticity. So be true to yourself in your experiences. So the purpose, it makes your story relatable and it builds trust with your audience. Vulnerability, right? That is so important. So share your struggles, fears, and challenges openly, right? So they want to know what have you failed from that you have now overcome, that you are now successful in. That is the authenticity, right? That vulnerability, it will help other people to be vulnerable as well. So it creates connection and allows your audience to see that you're human. You do not have it all figured out. They get to see that human side of your journey. And then a clear lesson or insight. So you want to highlight what you learned or the key takeaway from your experience. So when I shared my post earlier about, let me just pull it up. When I shared my post earlier um, about the fear that I had with my son learning how to drive, one of the key things that I learned there is that we hold ourselves back. We let other people we let the fear that other people may have hold us back as well. But there's no way that we're going to truly step into our purpose if we allow fear to hold us back, right? So that was the key takeaway from that experience. And then a strong call to action. So you want to then guide your audience on what steps that they can take next. So encourage reflection, action, or engagement. So you can ask a question like, have you ever experienced a moment where maybe you were afraid, or maybe someone else's fear tried to keep you stuck? How did you overcome that, right? So you want to create a space for engagement. And that keeps you from just posting from posting and ghosting, from posting and not going back and engaging with your audience. Right, so crafting a compelling story. So I'm just going to break these down real quick. So authenticity. So speak from personal experiences, not what you think others want to hear. Share both successes and struggles to be relatable. Use your natural voice. So avoid over polishing or overthinking. That is something that I definitely had to overcome, because I would have some great messages, some great posts typed up, and I just would not share them because I was overthinking, thinking too much about, does this sound right? What are people going to say? Especially if you think about sharing some of the personal experiences that you have, right? You think about, what are people going to think of you? Are people going to look at you different? Are people going to look down on you? You think about those different things. So don't overthink it. Just post it and let it go, right? So remember, honesty builds trust faster than perfection. Your audience, the people that you are called to, they need your honesty. They need you to show up and not overthink it. They need you to share the successes and the struggles. They need to hear what you really experienced so that they can show up fully and come out of those things that you have been freed from. So be true to yourself in your experiences. So your genuine story builds trust and connection with your audience. All right, vulnerability, right? So start small, share a personal challenge you're comfortable with, be honest about feelings, don't just state facts. Show what you have learned or how you grew from the experience. Vulnerability invites your audience to reflect and relate. So share your struggles, your fears, and challenges openly. Once again, vulnerability, it creates that empathy and human side of your journey. All right. Okay, so then remember we talked about a clear lesson or insight. So you want to identify the main point you want your audience to remember. Keep the lesson simple and actionable. Connect the lesson to your audience need or challenges. So we have to know exactly what is it that our audience needs so that we can connect that lesson. And then repeat or emphasize the key insight for clarity. So highlight the key takeaway or learning experience, or learning from your experience. It gives your audience actionable insight or inspiration. All right. And then that strong call to action. So end your story with a specific action, next step. I'm sorry. So in your story with a specific next step or action. Make it easy for them to apply the lesson. Encourage reflection. So you can ask a question like, how can you use this in your life? Okay. And then guide your audience on what steps they can take next. Encourage reflection. So that question there, how can you use this in your life? Or you can ask a simple question, have you ever experienced something like this? Or you can, like with the webinar, you can give that call to action. If you're ready to take those next steps and you want to show up, you know what I'm saying? You can do different things like that to invite them into what you're offering, but you want to tell the story first. We have to get out of the just buy my book or just posting the flyer and leaving it at that. We have to create engagement with what we're posting. Okay, so I thought this would be really cool to do. Because I think this is going to help us to find maybe those missing elements. So, story practice. So, and this is made up, y'all. So, one day my son asked me why I always look so tired. And I told him because being a mom means working hard. He smiled and said, okay, and went back to playing. That moment really made me think about how much I do every day. I just want him to know I love him and that everything I do is for him. Being a mom is a lot, but I guess that's just life. Okay. So this is your task. And you could come off mute or you can share it in the post, in the chat. Where can this story show more authenticity? How could you add vulnerability to this story? Think about what the lesson or takeaway would be. And then how could you end with a stronger call to action? And I want you to rewrite the story in your own words to make it more personal, make it more powerful. And as you're doing this, you may think back to some of those things that you've posted on your own social media, right? And this is where storytelling, those elements will really help you to put together your story. And if you want to come off of mute and maybe share one of those things that you see, you definitely can. And I'm sorry, I'm texting my son. I can hear you. You're so loud. Okay, definitely tell more of what makes you tired. Elaborate. Absolutely. So that gives it, takes it to that vulnerable, add in the vulnerability. And then I see your chat. So I took a break from Facebook. How do I get active in engagement again? So I think tonight is definitely gonna give you that fresh start um on how to get engaged. I know you have some projects that you're working on. So just telling a story, right? And we could talk a little bit more about that. Okay. And then and if you can drop this in the chat. So how could you end with a stronger call to action? But I guess you need to know what's the lesson or takeaway in the story. So if you can drop in the chat what you think the lesson or takeaway from this short story is, and then how would you end it with a stronger call to action? And we'll keep moving because the next couple of slides will take us on that journey. Okay. The lesson for me is to be more specific about what is making me tired. Okay, yes. So digging a little bit deeper for sure, vulnerability. All right, so knowing your audience, connecting through story. So understanding needs for effective storytelling. So to craft impactful stories, it's essential to identify your audience need and pain points, right? You need to know what your audience needs. So by understanding what resonates with them, you can tailor your narratives to meet those needs effectively. So this connection not only engages your listeners, but also makes your teachings more relatable and memorable. Okay, so know your audience. Identify who you are speaking to. That's step one. You need to know who you're talking to, right? Step two, understand their needs and pain points. What is something that they're struggling with? Step three, speak their language, right? Now, I can't be anybody but me, so I'm not going to change my whole dialect up. But if I'm wanting people to relate to what I'm saying, I then have to understand their needs, understand their pain points, and I have to make sure that I'm not speaking to them in a language that they are just not going to understand, right? You don't want to be speaking Spanish and their first language is English. They won't understand where you're coming from, right? So step 4, connect emotionally before teaching. So that's where we're gonna go back to the authenticity and the vulnerability. If you just go into it teaching, you may lose so many people. They want to know that they can relate. They need to understand that maybe you've been where they've been, you've come out of that. So connect emotionally. So ask yourself and write this down. Who am I talking to and what do they need right now? So when we think about our book Moments for Moms, right? I want you to think about your chapter. Who are you speaking to? What is the specific group of moms, right, that you're speaking to? What do they need? What language do they speak? And then what is the emotional connection there? So it is important to know your audience. So that definitely it helps you in the writing process, it helps you in the marketing process, and it helps you in the connecting with your audience process as well.
And not to burn yourself out process, trying to market to everyone else.
Absolutely. Burn yourself out. Resources, the money, the all the things that go into trying to market to everybody. So that's so important. Yes, thank you for sharing. All right, so make your story relatable. So share real emotions. Include specific details. Now, you do not have to go and tell your whole life story. Your social media does not have to be Jerry Springer. Everybody does not need to know everything, right? So know who you're talking to, know what they need, know what to share and what not to share. That's very important as well because oversharing can really cause you to lose some of your intended audience as well. So I think that's something important to remember. Highlight your challenges and growth, right? Write down some of the challenges that you had, and then write down how you have grown in those areas. What are some of the things that you struggle with? Do you still struggle with them? I guarantee you, you've probably overcome way more than you even realize it if you take a step and just reflect. Okay, step 2. And then tie it to a universal lesson, right? So, what was the lesson learned in all of that? So, think of a story that you maybe told before. How could you make it more relatable to your listeners? Did I miss one? Okay, no, I think I got it. All right. So, crafting your personal story effectively. So, these are just some techniques for engaging impactful narratives. So, crafting your story involves defining key moments, including struggles, breakthroughs, and connecting to your audience. So, by utilizing a clear structure with a beginning, middle, and end, you can create engaging narratives that resonate deeply, inspiring others while conveying meaningful lessons, right? So, even though you're telling your personal story, it should all come back around to what it is that you are, your purpose, right? What is the purpose for this post? What is the purpose for maybe showing up at that event? What is the purpose for the webinar that you're speaking at or the conference that you're speaking at, right? All of it is storytelling. You'll use these key elements to help you to bring everything together. Okay, so techniques for engaging in impactful narratives. So crafting your personal story effectively. So step 1, of course, is to define key moments. Step 2 is to use a clear structure. And then step 3, connect to your audience. And step 4, emphasize authenticity. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like sorry, I was missing something. It's okay. Okay. There we go. All right. So when you think about defining key moments, you want to identify some of the important events, struggles, or breakthroughs that you have in your story. So focus on the moments that shaped your journey or taught you a lesson, right? That's where I said a few minutes ago, you want to go back and jot down some of the things that you struggle with, some of your challenges, and think about where you are now. How did you overcome those challenges, right? Those are the steps you want to share. You can, even as an author, so a lot of us are have written multiple books, right? Think about your writing process. What did you struggle with in the beginning of the writing your first book? How did you overcome that struggle? Right? You can share that. Take people behind the scenes because you are now an expert in that because you've overcome it multiple times. Okay? So and then when we think about using a clear structure, so you want to organize your story with the beginning, middle, and end. When I was putting this together, I was like, man, this is taking me back to like sixth grade English. So it honestly like is taking you back to almost structuring a sentence, the flow of things, right? The flow of like those basic essays that we had to write when we were in school. When you think about marketing, because marketing is storytelling, think about that. Think about having a clear beginning, middle, and end. So this is going to help your audience to follow along and stay engaged. All right. And then you want to make sure that you connect with your audience. So, can they see themselves in your story, right? Remember, you need to know what your audience needs. What are their pain points? So, that's how you connect with them. And then when we think about emphasizing authenticity, so be genuine and honest. So, it builds trust and it strengthens your connection, right? And then include struggles and breakthroughs. So they make the story relatable and inspiring. So you want to highlight where you have grown and things that maybe you failed at that you no longer do those things anymore. It didn't work for you. Right. So that authenticity, because sometimes someone's gonna come and they may ask you those questions. So there are a lot of things that I did when I first started out in business that I tried. They don't work for me anymore. I found different things that work for me. So I'm authentic, I'm transparent about the things that I failed at so that someone else they don't have to make those same mistakes that I made.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you were talking about being authentic, so just for me, when I first started with writing and marketing, so one thing that I really like, if anybody can see, is I love hip hop music. So I felt that that would be like a hindrance for me because I started off with children's books, but
Mhm.
that is so much a part of just who I am and how I grew up. I felt like if I didn't add it, it wouldn't be authentic. And I
Mm.
have made it a way into my marketing that works. So, being authentic, it just makes it easier to market your books because you're not trying to do something that doesn't fit you. It's you. So I just wanted to share that. I think that is very important. I think that's why it's so easy for me to market things sometimes because I just I just do me. Like I just feel it's just authentically me. I am, hip hop. I am the music I choose for my post. So all of that just goes back to even the name of the book, Story Hustle. Like it
Yeah.
embodies like who I am. So it just made it very easy for me to promote it and market it because it was just me being authentic.
Absolutely. And I think that's definitely important. It makes you more comfortable, more relaxed in your marketing, right? If I can be 100% transparent, I would say maybe just over the course of the last 6 months, I feel like I'm getting back to like showing up as my true authentic selves, right? I think that sometimes we have so many different voices. Social media will have you comparing yourselves the way that other people they market, the way that they talk, the way that they put their events together. You know what I'm saying? Like social media will have you comparing, and in a way it will have you minimize yourself. So when you get back to your true authentic self, it feels like a weight is lifted. Like
Yes. It
it
is.
yes.
It so really does. And when you just do it, it just feels right. Like maybe some people don't get it, but the
Yeah.
right people will get it. Like if people who knew me would have me have posts with Taylor Swift out there, they would be like, okay, who are you trying to be? You know? And I mean, I know that there's limits of music that I can and can't use, but that's just common sense. But I just know that being your true self is easy and people will see that and they'll know like okay you're not trying to just put on a show for Instagram or Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. Like I'm just a naturally I love to joke, right? And I feel like, on social media you are limited in that, but I feel like I can actually get back to like just get back to incorporating those pieces of me in my marketing in the way that I show up on social media because we don't have time to be comparing ourselves to anybody else, right? It just helps you to show up better in your marketing. So Danny said, so that is something I am working on how to connect with my audience. I have to try to get back to being my authentic me. And that is so true about social media. It will have you comparing yourself for sure.
Juanita, I remember, I believe it was either you or Miss Paula, um, in one of the sessions that you did when you talked about the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
And one of the things I love to write, and sometimes even with I've been off of Facebook for what almost a month now, and taking a break because I wanted to be in a place where I could write and not feel like I was comparing myself to other writers.
Yeah.
And so it's important for me, to be able to try and not that I don't know who I am, but when it comes to writing, to be able to find and discover my authentic self, so that when I'm writing, the audience that I'm writing to, I want to be specific, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And I look at it like this: no one else is in the room with you when you're writing, right? Um, You definitely don't have room to compare. There's no room for us to compare ourselves to other people. And I love to use the bread aisle analogy. So if you think about you go in Walmart, right? And there's hundreds of different brands, loaves of bread, right? I don't go and I don't pick up every single loaf of bread in that aisle. I pick up the one that first of all settles settles well with me, that tastes good to me, and you have to think about your purpose and who you're called to almost the same way, right? It's not going to be for everybody. But the people that it's for, they're gonna go and they're gonna pick up your loaf of bread because it was made for them. So I think that's one of the analogies that has helped me to show up more authentically and to kind of overcome the imposter syndrome because if it's for you, it's for you. I know that it was meant
Mhm.
for somebody and they're gonna go and they're gonna
Yes.
pick up my loaf of my loaf of bread because it was meant for them.
Exactly, and that's what you have to say because imposter syndrome will kill your joy. And like today I have this book, I've been promoting it for months, and I'm still like, is it good? Are people even gonna like it? Does it suck? Like I'm literally doing that, and my husband had to say, did you finish it? Did you
Yeah,
do it? And I said, yes. And he's like, that's all that matters.
that's all that matters.
He said, you did it. There's people who want to do this and they never do.
Yep.
So I was like, you're right. So I mean, sometimes social media will do that to you, but once you get clear on your purpose and who you're doing it for, you really start to just block out the noise of everything going on social media, because you are very secure of what you're supposed to be doing. You know, like, that's not for me because I'm supposed to be doing the X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
So that is very true. Once you get clear on your purpose, the noise starts to kind of drown itself away.
Yes. And the noise of the empty room sometimes too, right? Because sometimes we finish the projects and we're like, okay, well, I don't see the sales, or I don't see
Ooh,
the
child.
engagement,
Mm.
right? So my dad, I remember, I don't know if my dad even remembers this, but I remember my dad he'll preach to an empty room, right? Because if God gave you that message, you're still supposed to deliver that message no matter who is in the room. Maybe the message was just for you to hear it, right? Maybe it was for you to write it and to receive it, but the more you authentically show up, the more people can see you, and the more the room will start to fill, because you are being consistent, right? You're being
Mm-hmm.
consistent in your authenticity, you're being consistent in your vulnerability. But if you don't show up, nobody can see, right, what God created for you to
Yes.
share.
So one thing I learned at church, I was reading and they were preaching, and it gave me a different perspective. How it was saying that, everybody in the kingdom has an assignment. So if you
Mm,
don't fulfill your assignment, you're messing up somebody else.
yes.
You're messing it up. You
Yeah.
know. So when I thought about that, I was like, oh, okay. So my assignment is very important. What I'm here to do is very important. So I start to try to look at things like that. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't matter about sales, numbers,
Yes.
because you can get caught up on that. My assignment is bigger than just, a dollar sign or how many people are liking my post or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right. Right.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think sometimes I can be my worst critic. I am my worst critic oftentimes.
Most
And
of us
sometimes
are.
I'm sorry.
Most of us are our biggest critic, right? The inner critic that we have. So that's normal. It's not letting that voice inside your head be louder than the voice of God, than the voice that said this is what you're supposed to do. So you just have to ask yourself, which voice am I going to listen to?
Mhm.
Yeah. This is good. I love this engagement. Thank you. So the more we learn to use our stories to truly connect, the less we have to say, buy my book, because our story speaks for itself. And I think honestly that's where a lot of the frustration comes in marketing, right? Because we're showing up, we're posting the flyers, we're posting our books, we're doing all of that and we're consistent, but we're not seeing the engagement that we want to see with the work that we're putting into it. So we have to sometimes go back to the drawing board in how we show up and in the stories that we tell, right? So this is where storytelling comes into play. So once again, so in marketing, you have to be a great storyteller, especially in 2025, especially in the age of videos, right? In the age of AI, you have to learn how to tell an impactful story. It is very important if you want people to connect with what it is that you're doing. Okay. So engaging your audience with powerful stories. So crafting a compelling story involves using imagery, emotion, metaphors to connect deeply with your audience. When I was studying this, y'all, I told you it made me feel like I was going back to school. Like it was pulling all the pieces together, and it was giving me those aha moments, like, okay, yes, I really get it. And now I'm enjoying showing up in marketing because I get to have a little bit of fun with the storytelling part of it in my marketing. Okay, so we had that prompt that I shared before. So now we're going to break it down in a way where you can kind of see the imagery and you can see how it's enhancing it. And it may um get people a little bit more involved. Of course, like I said, this is not this is not a real story. This may not even be something that you would post on social media, but I just want you to have an idea. So, using imagery to paint your story. So for example, so one day my son asked me why I always look so tired. So when you add imagery, one day my son tugged at my sleeve, his big brown eyes full of curiosity, and asked why my shoulders sagged and my eyes looked so heavy from another from another long day. So you're using sensory details, the sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, right? Is it taking you back to sitting in fifth grade, sixth grade English class where you're learning this? And I honestly think that the more we kind of go back to the basics of things that we learned a long time ago and we implement those things into our marketing, it's going to make it fun for you almost a little bit, right? It's going to make it more engaging for your audience too. Because it's like now they're reading a story, not just by holding your book, but in the marketing that you use as well. So imagery, it uses descriptive language to create a vivid picture in your audience's mind. And then you want to tap into that emotion, right? So example, so I just want him to know I love him. So I felt a lump in my throat and tears prickling in my eyes as I realized all my sacrifices were silent lessons of love for him. So your emotion conveys your feelings so the audience can empathize and relate. So you want to be honest and specific about your feelings. So I do not talk like this, right? So that's what I said. This is not real. This is not what I would say on my social media. I would share something that is along the lines of how I naturally speak because authenticity is still key, right? So you want to show how you react to events rather than just describing them. Invite the audience to feel alongside with you. And then using metaphors to make your story stick. So, the post that I shared earlier, right? I related my son learning how to drive with being an author, right? So being an author is kind of like being in the driver's seat, right? Getting out of your own way. Eliminating your own personal fear and someone else's fear. So, a metaphor, it compares two unlike things to illustrate a concept or a lesson. And it is like a really great, effective storytelling technique. And I want you to try that this week when you get ready to share a story on your social media to promote your book, business, or brand. I really want you to try these storytelling techniques. Okay. And then teaching through your story. So there is a lesson to be learned in everything. Absolutely a lesson to learn in everything. Your story has the power to inspire, guide, and empower your audience. So by sharing your unique experiences, you can teach invaluable lessons that resonate deeply. So craft your narrative with authenticity and vulnerability to connect meaningfully, encouraging reflection, and actionable insights that your listeners can apply in their own lives. So, teaching through your story. So, I'm just going to break this sentence down. So, when my son asks why I always look so tired, I realize all the love and sacrifices I pour into motherhood are seen, and that inspires me to keep going. So, your experiences can spark hope and motivation in your audience. So, sharing your triumphs, breakthroughs, or moments of courage encourages other people to take action. So, some tips here. So, highlight a personal achievement or overcoming a challenge. Use storytelling to make the audience feel the excitement or the relief. Show what's possible, right? So, let your story model potential outcomes. And then keep the message uplifting but honest so it resonates. I always think that at the end of whatever it is that I post, I want somebody to feel hope. I want them to be motivated to keep showing up. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing your marketing. And then guide people through your story. So I learned that showing my child love through both words and actions teaches him patience, empathy, and gratitude. Small daily choices create lasting lessons. So you see that first prompt that we had, just small tweaks can really enhance it. It can really teach a lesson through sharing a simple story. So break your story into lessons learned, share strategies or mindsets that helped you overcome those challenges, connect your lesson to the audience's possible experiences. So you need to know what are their pain points, right? And then encourage reflection. How can this apply to you? So ask a question at the end, right? So I know Pastor Crystal, she asked, how do I get active in engagement again? So think about asking those engagement questions at the end of your post, right? So how can this apply to you? Have you ever experienced something like this? If you have, what was that feeling like, right? Get them to connect with you, share in the comments. But then when they start to share and they're connecting, make sure you go back and engage with them. Don't just have them posting and you leave them on red essentially. And then you want to empower people through your story. So seeing how my son observes and learns from me reminded me that I have the power to shape his future, and it shows that every small act of love and patience empowers those around you, right? So sharing your journey, it boosts confidence and motivates others to take action. Your story can help others believe in their own ability to overcome challenges. So some tips: emphasize growth and resilience, highlight how the audience can apply similar lessons, include a simple call to action, include a simple call to action to inspire action, and then use uplifting and encouraging language. So you'll often see me say, keep showing up, right? That is my signature line. Keep showing up or keep owning your impact, right? Because it is inspiring action, but it is also uplifting and motivating. Okay. All right. And then let's talk about some of the barriers, right? Fear, imposter syndrome, judgment, the feeling of being inadequate. So, those are some of the barriers in storytelling, in marketing, in writing, in showing up, right? By embracing authenticity and vulnerability, you connect with your audience on a deeper level, making your story resonate and inspire, but you may hit those barriers. So we have to identify, what are the fears. So what fear has kept you from sharing your story? Write those down. Write down the things that are holding you back. Acknowledge them without letting them stop you. Share your concerns with someone that you trust, and then take small steps. So maybe it's sharing a small journey or recording a short video, right? But we have to take action in order to overcome those fears.
Juanita, that is probably one of my biggest struggles is the video piece
Yeah.
because and I just do not like doing videos. And that's just a struggle for me. I am trying to overcome that, but that's just an area where I'm just praying that God gives me the confidence and the consistency to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel maybe the same. I feel like I'm a writer when it comes to even speaking, even when it comes to like and I've said this before, even like simply doing things like a webinar, it's video. I'm not standing up in front of anyone. You still have the nervousness that comes with it, right? But the more you consistently do something, the more the wall, the barriers start to break down. Kind of like tying your shoe, right? The more you tie your shoe, the better you get at it. The more you write, the better you get at it. The more you practice driving, the better you get at it. The more you practice riding a bike, then eventually you don't need the training wheels on. So practice is key, even if that is recording the videos yourself, maybe not going live. Maybe you are just recording 60-second videos, playing it back, maybe writing a script out so that you're not, rambling. You know exactly what you're going to say. But the key is to actually do it so that you can overcome the fear.
Right. And I do think that those strategies would be good for me because when I say that I am going to do a live or I'm going to do a video, me practicing, I have it nailed. But it's
Mhm.
like the moment it's lights, camera, action,
Yeah.
um, there's like almost like a panic that comes over.
Yeah. But sometimes you just have to do it. Do it afraid, do it scared, just do it. Because at the end of the day, once you finish, you're done. Then you can move on to the next
Right.
thing.
Yeah, I hate
Yeah.
going live, and that's something I just don't do. And
Yeah.
I don't do it, but I will do a video. I don't like doing videos, but I rather do videos and lives.
Mhm.
And what I do, I can't remember anything when I'm like reading. So I have a
Mhm.
I use a teleprompter app. So
Yeah.
I literally just put everything that I'm going to say in the teleprompter, and you can make it go as fast as slow as you want. And that's how I, because people are like, how do you remember all that? And I'm like, what? I will never remember all that. But it's a lifesaver because it just makes making the video so much easier for me because I can't remember all the things I need to say. So yeah, making the videos and just posting them or right where I'm at, going live, mm-mm. I don't.
Okay.
And I've learned that maybe what works for other
Mhm.
people isn't always, what's going to work for you. So that's where going back to, being your authentic self, knowing what it is that you're supposed to do. Because maybe not everybody is supposed to go live. Maybe the recorded videos are good for you, right? So you just need to know what works best for you. Um, and then just keep it moving in that way.
Okay. I do, Miss Paula, I do want to say to not just you, but also to Juanita. When I'm watching your videos and your sessions that you're doing, it you are both of you are very confident. And Miss Paula, I never would have imagined that you were recording yours and not going live, just because of your confidence level. But
I
thank you
appreciate
for
that
sharing that.
because I am so. It's I gotta put on a good show in front because I be scared to death recording those videos and going. If you could just see the outtakes, they're crazy, but
Yeah.
I get them done. I get them
Yeah.
done because I get them done because I have a vision. I feel, like, okay, I'm gonna do this series. I have to record. But yeah, I don't really enjoy it, but I know that it's something that I have overcome, and I just keep showing up, as Juanita says. I just
Yeah.
keep showing up.
That's the way to
Yes.
do it.
Now, can I ask you? You said something about a teleprompter.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
is that a device that we would buy?
No, it's an app.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll share the app because it's free and it is so easy. It records you. The words are on the screen. It just looks like you're recording. So when I'm just looking, I am literally reading off of the screen.
Okay.
And it's been a lifesaver for me because my brain, I can't hold water. So it helps me literally just get up there, do what I have to say, and then I'm done.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Would you mind sharing the name of that app?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let me get it. Let me go and lock my.
Yes, and Danny asked the same. If you can share, if you can drop it in the chat, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we want to, and I want you to write down that question. Of course, if you didn't grab it. So what fear has kept you from sharing your story? And think about that. Write that down, and then think about what are some ways that can help you overcome that fear, right? All right, and then let's keep going. So focus on impact. So you want to think about how could your story make a difference if you shared it today, right? Because remember we said our story, our purpose is not just for us. It's not just for you. So if you let your fear keep you from sharing, keep you from showing up, you may be holding someone else holding someone else up as well. So it's important to think about what difference your story could make and let that maybe be the reason that you show up and put your fear to the side. So the goal isn't perfection. It's resonating, inspiring, and empowering your audience. So focusing on impact makes it easier to overcome self-doubt. So ask yourself how this story can help or inspire someone else. Highlight lessons or growth from your experience. End your story with a takeaway or an actionable insight. And then remember, even one honest story can touch many lives. Okay, and then action. So turning your story into action. So using narratives across platforms. So your story has the power to inspire and motivate. It can transform it into actionable insights by sharing it through various channels, whether in speaking and engagements, your books, social media, or workshops. So by engaging your audience authentically, you can create a lasting impact and encourage others to embrace their narratives. So that goes back to your purpose is not just for you. So turning your story into action. So using it across multiple platforms. So books, you can integrate lessons into your writing, speaking engagements, motivate live audiences, social media. It gives you an gives you an opportunity to connect and engage consistently. Workshops and classes, or you can provide guidance and practical takeaways, right? So there are a lot of different ways that you can share your story, right? So tailor your story to fit the platform. So if you think about maybe what works in a workshop, it may differ from social media. Focus on actionable takeaways that your audience can apply immediately. The goal is that you want people to take action steps. Use consistent themes to reinforce your message across platforms. So this is where we go back to authenticity, right? Stay true to who you are, who God created you to be, so that your message is consistent no matter where you show up. People know who you are. They don't have to second guess or question that. Invite your audience to take action, reflect, or share their own stories. Okay. All right. And then which platform could you start sharing your story on this week? And what actionable lesson would you include? So I want you to think about that. You can write that down. You can drop it in the chat. But that's something I want you to think about. All right. And then here's some takeaways for impactful storytelling. So these essential insights to inspire, guide, and teach purpose through your unique story. So stories inspire action. So harness the power of your narrative to motivate your audience. Authenticity resonates. So get back to your authentic self. So being genuine in your storytelling, it fosters deeper connections. Lessons lead to growth. Clearly connect your experiences to actionable insights for your audience. Embrace vulnerability. Sharing your struggles enriches your message and builds relatability. So engage your audience. Involve involve them through questions and reflections to get them to participate, right? So when we think about the posts that we share on social media, ask questions that get them to think and engage with you. Okay. So what's next? So Actually, in 2 days, we are starting 6 weeks to purposeful influence. So this is in beta mode. So the launch special is 247. So I am doing limited spaces for this, right? Because I'm sorry, on October 13th. Limited spaces for this because I want this to be able to really connect with you. So 6 weeks to purposeful influence. So find your voice, lead with impact, create a lasting legacy. So what you'll get in this weekly live coaching calls, you get worksheets, exercises, and accountability challenges, strategies to confidently step into your influence. And then who is this for? Creatives, authors, and entrepreneurs ready to lead with impact. You don't have to wait for permission. You can own your impact now. All right, and this space is for Q&A. I appreciate you all joining tonight, engaging tonight. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, you can come off of mute. You can share it in the chat.
Hey guys. So I just wanted to give some feedback, but anyway, I'm here. But so I wanted to say this was really good information. It's really helping me, like you said, like get back to my authenticity. That word is like a
I
tongue
know
twister.
it's tricky.
Authenticity. But I appreciate you taking the time to share the information because it is helping me really ask myself some questions like you know what is your fear? Like I have a lot to share, and I do have the stories. I think the vulnerability part,
Yeah.
uh, because early on, like I said, I started off with fiction, and so now fiction isn't easy by no means, but I don't have to be really vulnerable. I can make it up along the way. It just, make it be add the fluff and add all of the descriptions and everything just sounds so great. But then when I did the Moments for Moms, the first book, I had to be vulnerable. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I gotta tell my story, I gotta tell the truth. I gotta really tell people like this is something that I've struggled with as a single mom and all of that. So I think the vulnerability, I'm getting better at that, but that's a fear that I really got to share people. I really do have a story that can impact someone, but I just can't be afraid to share it.
Yes, absolutely. Because someone needs to hear it, right? And I think that's definitely like just been a major takeaway for me. In those seasons where I feel like I don't want to say anything. Not that I don't have anything to say, but maybe I just don't want to say anything. I don't want to show up right now. It's remembering that my purpose is not just for me, and just digging deep. What have I overcome? What challenges have I overcome that can help someone either not go through those things or help pull them up out of those challenges. So it's definitely important to go back and reflect on those things, not to feel sorry for yourself, but to really help someone else along the way. Thank you so much for that feedback. And I appreciate you joining. You'll get the replay. So anything you missed in the beginning, you'll be able to catch up on. It wasn't too much. So you came in on at a decent time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to add before we wrap up tonight?
I'm using storytelling tomorrow in my post.
Yes, I love it. So please tag me right in the comments because I want to see how you show up with your storytelling. If you want to share something and you're like, okay, I'm not really sure how this sounds, send it to me in a message and I could take a look at it for you just to give you that extra vote of confidence. But I'm sure it's gonna be amazing when you post. And you'll see like the more that you do it, the more confident you'll get, the more comfortable you'll get. And don't worry so much about the numbers in the beginning. The important thing right now is to build consistency, right? That is the important thing. I don't want you to look at your metrics. Don't look at how many people like, how many people comment. If you um, tag me in it, I'm gonna make sure I engage, right? Even if it's like Moments for Moms, you can go into the Moments for Moms group and let them know I am okay with you doing this. Let them know I just shared a new post, because that is the important thing about the community that we're building. We want to help each other to show up more confidently. So let us know when you've posted something so we can go and we can engage with you there too, because I think that will help with your confidence as well.
And then when you start trying to like tell your stories and trying to tie it back to your message, you get creative. Like, how can I, and then it just becomes fun. Like, how can I tell this story and tie it back to my message or my book? So, and a lot of times everything ties back in some way.
It
It's
does.
gonna time back.
Yes.
This is good. This is good. I definitely am like Miss Paula. I will share a story tomorrow, possibly send it to you first so that you can proof it. But that's a good challenge for me.
Great. I love that. I love that you have that takeaway, that you are going to take an action step, because that's what this is all about. And definitely work on those videos, Danny. I love that you shared that. But just start small. Don't feel like you have to have everything figured out in 24 to 48 hours. You don't. The important thing is building consistency here. I can guarantee you the more consistent that you get with something, the more comfortable and confident that you will get in it. And that will lead you to owning your impact all the way around. All right. I don't have anything else for you all. I will send out the replay probably in the morning. So anything that you missed, you'll be able to go back. You'll also get the slides as well. You can go back and you can take a look at some of the examples. But I will see you all in on Facebook, Instagram. Can't wait to see what you create and share through your storytelling so that we can engage.
Thank you, Miss Juanita. It was very, very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will talk to y'all later. Have a good